in a minute. Good evening and welcome to our event. We've put this on for parents, students, carers and teachers, if anyone's there, to help kind of navigate your way through the decisions around art and design foundation courses and art and design degrees. So we know that a lot of our students, a significant number, progress on to art subjects at university and art college. So hopefully this will be really useful for you. I'm really pleased to welcome Gavin and Luke from the University Arts London, who we do a huge amount of work with and who also offer a massive amount of support to our students in terms of preparing for applications. So hopefully some of the students in the audience will have already participated in the Insights programme. So you will be able to hear more from Gavin and Luke about that programme and what it can offer students in terms of helping you prepare an application. So Art Foundation degree, they will involve different application processes that they will explain more. I'll just also mention we have got a Q&A function in this event. So you will see, you should see a couple of speech marks with a question mark in. And that's where you can post any questions. So I will try my best to keep answering those questions. And sorry, what I should have said right at the beginning is I'm Jo Bishop and I'm Head of Careers at City and Islington College. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Gavin. Hopefully we can share his desktop and he's going to take you through some slides.
Hello everyone. As Jo said, my name is Gavin Waters and I work in the outreach team at University Arts London. Specifically, I work at the London College of Communication as an outreach practitioner. And we've also got my colleague Luke here.
Luke Watson here. I work as an outreach practitioner at Camberwell, Chelsea and Wimbledon, so I'll be specifically talking about some of the courses from there as we progress through the presentation. So
super. And to reiterate what Jo said, if you've got any questions for us, right at the very end, we've got plenty of time to answer questions, so please put them in the Q&A box, and if we can answer them along the way, we will, or if not, right at the very end. Yes, so the university is the University Arts London, and as you can see here, we are rated the second in the world for art and design.
Yeah, that's also for the second year running, actually, something we're very proud of. We also like to say that the Royal College of Art is #1, and that's only for postgraduate programs for after your degree. So yeah, so we like to kind of smile a lot about that one. So it's a good thing.
And we've got a few slides here, kind of looking at all aspects of application and the different levels, as Jo mentioned, of foundation and undergraduate study. And we're going to kind of talk about different programs that our team actually offer to students who are at City and Islington.
So we like to kind of highlight the fact that university can give you access to professional careers. One of the really exciting things about our university is that a lot of the teachers, a lot of the technicians are also practitioners themselves. So they have one foot in the professional world and one foot in the teaching world. So I think it's a really good thing for students to kind of be exposed to that idea of that their teachers also have this understanding of the industry. As well as kind of supporting them and looking forward into how the industry is kind of evolving and changing. Also, yeah, we like to say that university does give you better prospects in terms of earning potential. And one of the fantastic things about university is the life experience that you get, the friends that you make, the contacts that you make. And certainly from my own personal perspective, a lot of the people I met at university are still kind of contacts and friends to this day. So it really is yeah, fantastic place. Obviously a little bit unusual at the moment with the current situation, but it's something that one of the things that we all do really well is we solve problems creatively, and so we like to try and find ways to support our students and staff and find ways to make things work.
Regardless of if you're thinking about applying to UAL or going to a different university, we have a lot of students that think about maybe leaving London and going outside around England. But whatever you're doing, you should always think about getting as much information around the university as possible. Obviously, before COVID hit us, normally we would host a series of in-person open days where students and family members come in and look around. But obviously, I can speak on behalf of UAL. We're doing these online for the next year or so, because obviously numbers of students that would come in for those are quite high. So whichever university you're thinking about, make sure to look at what they offer in terms of their digital activity. All universities have got an online presence on all social media platforms, but also their actual web pages themselves. Look at what webinars and seminars online that they hold and you can interact with. It's really important for students to make sure that they speak to tutors and hear about people that work there and current students that currently study at the universities. Because obviously they're going to be the people, a lot of these students are only 2 years ahead of where you were, so it's important that you kind of look at their work and look at their journey into university. You should look at their prospectuses, which are basically kind of books of information outlining the courses that they run at universities, or you can view obviously online prospectuses. At UAL, we've got a lot of information about our courses online. We offer a large number of courses, so obviously we like to kind of help students differentiate between the courses available. And then look at league tables and see what it is that you want to get out of the university, student satisfaction and stuff like that. That's all really handy, and obviously during COVID times you can do all this on your phone or on your computer, which is obviously, that might be a plus side there, that you can do a lot more research without actually having to travel across the country or across the city.
So yeah, choosing a course can be quite a daunting thing. I'm sure there's many of you out there that are kind of thinking, you know, what do I choose? How am I going to make these decisions? And so that's something that nobody can really make for you. It's something that you need to kind of, like Gavin said, look at all the details. Our website is fantastic in terms of really drilling down into the details of those specific courses, and also talking about some of the differences between courses that on the surface have the same name or very similar kind of names. But if you look at the modules, the units, looking at the entry requirements, so for many courses it's done on the interview and the portfolio that you put together. With some specific courses, they do require at least 2 Cs at A level, or a passing equivalent on a level 3 diploma program. So not all of UAL has 92 different undergraduate courses, which we're going to not talk to you about all of them because that would take us forever, but we are going to kind of highlight a few of those courses as we progress through the presentation. The teaching styles, there are different ways that different courses deliver the programs, and obviously at the moment we're looking at an idea of a blended program in the current situation, which means you do get some access to the facilities, but there is also a lot of online learning currently. These are obviously situations that are changing day by day. So also looking at the facilities and the teachers as well, what their backgrounds are, what they've done before, what kind of industries they've worked in can be really useful in getting a better idea about what it is you might want to do. The course structure, what an average kind of week will look like, whether there are options to study abroad, industry placements, how many kind of contacts there are, or how many aspects of the program are linked in with industry. Some programs lead nicely into MA programs as the 4th year of the program. And also looking at how competitive the courses are. So some courses are more competitive than others. So that's why it's good to kind of, do that background research, and also, collaborating with some of your peers as well and talking to them about what your interests are. And of course, your teachers as well, all there to kind of support you and advise you as you move forward.
So the university consists of 6 separate colleges, all with kind of their own individual identities and subject specialists, but we are all one university, so we are University of the Arts London. Often with our colleges and courses, there'll be abbreviations that get thrown around, but we'll try to make sure to avoid them. But we've got a good spread over London and a good spread of courses. And we're just going to kind of explain the different colleges.
Yeah, so you can see here we've got Camberwell College of Arts, funnily enough, based in Camberwell. And we tend to kind of, because it's relatively small compared to some of the other colleges, Camberwell College of Arts, Chelsea College of Arts and Wimbledon College of Arts are kind of administered together. And those abbreviations that Gavin mentioned, sometimes we call them CCW, but it's if you ever hear that, that's what we're talking about: Camberwell, Chelsea and Wimbledon. And they are three quite distinctive locations and quite distinctive places. And I think it's a really important thing to be aware of, the different kind of dynamics of the spaces that you may potentially be in as well. So Wimbledon being in South London, it's kind of leafy, it's kind of quite a lot more space. And the kind of programme profile that they have is quite different to some of the other colleges that we've got. Chelsea College of Arts, which is actually in Pimlico, used to be in Chelsea. That has it's actually an old military hospital that's then been converted into a college, and that's right next to Tate Britain, which is a fantastic gallery. I'm sure some of you may well have visited it in the past, but there's opportunities in the local area that are also things to consider, perhaps when you're thinking about maybe there's a similar course that's offered at different areas, but maybe there's something about a location that can help sway you one way or another. So it's important to kind of know that. Central St Martin's, very famous for fantastic art and design programs and fashion programs, which we're going to be talking to you about in more detail shortly. Based in King's Cross, very kind of impressive building. If you've ever been there, we've got the street, which is this impressive kind of walkway that has lots of temporary exhibitions. There's a really nice kind of vibe and energy about the place, and very kind of centrally located and easy to access from all over the city. London College of Communication, where Gavin tends to hang out, is in Elephant and Castle. And again, like Gavin said, every place has a very distinctive kind of flavour about it. And there's a very strong kind of industry focus at London College of Communication. And as you might imagine, the kind of courses that are on offer are to do with communication, design, and there are a number of different schools within London College of Communication, which we'll be able to talk to you about in a bit more detail shortly. The easiest one to probably get your head around is London College of Fashion, which has predominantly fashion courses, if not all fashion courses. But there are so many different nuances to fashion that there are, I can't even remember how many courses there are, but there's a huge range of courses that we can list for you that take place. Currently, London College of Fashion is based at a number of sites across the city, but there is a move happening in towards Stratford, which is a bit delayed at the moment, but in the next few years, that's where London College of Fashion, or LCF as we call it, will be based. But lots of kind of exciting new developments that are happening in Stratford as well, with the V&A building and the old Olympic Village in that particular area. Lots of kind of new businesses and new kind of activities kind of taking place. So another kind of rich and up and coming kind of area to be involved in. So that's a bit about the colleges, and Gav's going to talk about the courses.
Yeah, we're going to give you just a brief overview. We're going to explain the differences in level, so with the foundation and then undergraduate. We don't expect everyone to understand things straight away, but part of our job in the outreach team at UAL is to kind of support the students that we work with and help them with their decisions. So as I say, this is going to be a brief overview, but hopefully it will make a bit more sense. Some of you might already have an idea of what it is you want to study, and I'm sure a lot of you are still a little bit unsure, but that's entirely normal. A large number of the students that we work with are stuck in that, don't really know which area it is. So foundation.
So yeah, foundation courses. Now this is something you can actually apply for a foundation course and an undergraduate course, a degree course, at the same time. So it's quite good to kind of have those two different options. And that for us, the UAL Foundation, we have two separate foundations, one at Camberwell College of Arts on Peckham Road and one at Central St Martin's. And foundation course, it's not maybe for everybody. It kind of depends on your how confident you are, whether how your portfolio is developed, the particular courses you're applying for. So it is looked upon favourably. I think it is a good thing to do if you wish to kind of have that extra year to boost your confidence. Like Gavin said at the beginning, I used to run a foundation course in the past, and we'd always say to the students that this is a fantastic year to experiment and play and learn lots about what, when you're making that critical decision about what you're going to do next. It's just that extra year to kind of really get your head around what it is you're interested in. So it's another year of free education as well if you're progressing from your second year of college. So it's definitely worth having a think about. At Camberwell College of Arts, we have three specific kind of areas with art, communication and design. And then at Central St Martin's, 3D dimensional design and architecture, fashion design and textiles, fine art, graphic communication design. So there's a lot of kind of crossover between the two. No one is better than the other. They're just slightly different. And I would say that if fashion was your thing, then obviously Central St Martin's kind of offers that, whereas Camberwell doesn't. Although there is an aspect of textiles at Camberwell College of Arts as well, which comes under the design pathway. There are also two specific ways that the course is approached. There's what's called a specialist or a diagnostic approach. So specialist is when you're pretty sure that you want to go into one of those areas. So maybe art is your area, fine art, and so you move directly into that particular mode of delivery, which means you're focused in that area. Or there's diagnostic, which means the first few months of the course, you're trying a bit of everything. You're rotating between art, communication, design, and giving yourself that chance to make that decision. And then after the winter break, you then make your choices and move into those specific pathways. No one is better than the other. It just depends on your kind of individual kind of thoughts and feelings. But you're more than welcome to kind of ask those sorts of questions to us, maybe perhaps at the end as well, if you have any specific questions. But foundation is really fantastic year to develop your confidence, build that portfolio, and just get you really prepared for undergraduate. We also offer guaranteed places on our undergraduate courses progressing from foundation. That doesn't mean you necessarily get your first choice of a course. So you might say, this is the course I really want to do, but that course could be highly competitive. But we will advise on a number of different courses that you might be suitable for. So we'll help you with that process. So yeah, that's pretty much it for foundation. And if you have any further questions, do let us know and we can answer those at the end.
And so the other choice is undergraduate study. So this is the main bulk of courses. Luke said there was 92 and I've got over 100, but somewhere between 92 and just over 100 courses available across those 6 colleges Luke mentioned earlier. And traditionally, an undergraduate course would last 3 years. Some of them, so architecture, for example, can be 7 years. And a lot of courses will have an option for a year in industry or a year abroad or something like that. And that often means an extra year of studying. But at least 3 years for most undergraduate courses. It's very hard. Like when you're looking at courses at university, you'll often see the letters BA if you're interested in arts at the start of a subject, and that just means Bachelor of the Arts. And so that is what is an undergraduate course. I know from my experience of when I studied at university, that was something that threw me when I was applying because I didn't really understand what all of the jargon meant. But if you see the letters BA at the start of a course, then that means that it's going to be an undergraduate course. And different to the foundation, but you applied for UCAS. You applied for an undergraduate course via UCAS. So the foundation, you applied directly to the university itself, whereas for undergraduates, you apply via UCAS. So I know that I've got the deadline is 15th of January there. That's the UCAS cutoff deadline. But I know that City and Islington have an earlier deadline for submissions. So that's somewhere in November. And basically that's because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, lots of references that need to be submitted with a student's application. So I know whilst the 15th of January might seem like it's quite far away, I'm sure November, that's only around the corner. So if you are thinking about going to study an undergraduate at any university, not just UAL, you should definitely make sure to start doing your research now, engaging with those kind of digital open days, as I mentioned. And yeah, so kind of one of the things that we'll be speaking about a bit later on is about something that we offer which supports progression for students to either foundation or undergraduate level. And during that, we help you with all the kind of the bits and bobs involved, like with UCAS and finance and stuff like that. So now we're going to spin through some of the subject areas available at University Arts London. Obviously, they're all art, design, media, they're all within the creative industries. So one of the, obviously, clues in the name, the largest area would be art.
Yeah, so art, we have a huge range of different programs across the college, across the colleges. So again, this is, like I mentioned before, fine art, for example. We have fine art at Camberwell, we have fine art at Chelsea, we have fine art at Central St Martin's. So looking at the kind of the particulars of those different courses, looking at the students' work, looking at how the lessons are delivered are going to be really important for those distinctions. One of the interesting things, for example, at Camberwell is that you do have it divided into different areas such as painting or illustration. And what that means is also that a number of the students from the different programs do a couple of collaborative things together as well in the first year of the program. And that's a slightly different approach to how things operate at Chelsea, for example. So looking at those specifics is really important. Looking at the different types of units that you do as well. So you'll have units that involve collaboration. You'll have units that involve experimentation. You'll have units that are all about you and your own personal approach, which is something that's really important to build this personal distinctive approach in all of the different subject areas. And then, you know, looking at how you are as a professional, you're moving into an arena where you can be a professional artist, how you express that, how you inquire, the theoretical aspects of art and design. These are all things that you need to kind of look at when you look at those course specifics. And of course photography as well. So there's a specific fine art photography course at Camberwell, for example, where it might be that photography is your interest, but you might end up not using a camera at all for your outcomes that you end up producing. You might be working with light and time in a very loose kind of way, or sculpture or drawing, but photography might be the kind of the interest area that you have. So there's some really interesting ways of looking at the subjects and finding a way that works best for you. Okay.
Yep. So another one of the big areas of our courses is fall under communication. It's worth saying that obviously the photos that have been used throughout this whole presentation are all UAL students and graduates, so all the kind of work that comes out of the university. But communications is such a broad subject area, and as Luke mentioned earlier, myself working at the London College of Communication, we have a large number of degrees available. So we have things like advertising, we have a new Institute for Creative Computing just in Camberwell, so you can do courses that look into creative computing, but we've got graphic design communication, journalism, photography journalism, and documentary photography, and subjects like public relations. All of those kind of fall under the area of communication. And one of the great things about UAL is obviously London. You're in the heart of one of the world's most famous cities for communication. And so working at a university within London and studying a communications course is a great advantage. We have students coming from all around the world to study on degrees at UAL because they can kind of learn this kind of leading example of how these subjects are taught and in the heart of the creative industry. Oops, sorry, 1 second, just having a technical. gone too far there. Apologies. There we go.
No worries. So yeah, design is another huge area as well, and a huge multitude of programs that come under that umbrella. So we've got programs such as architecture. We've also got interior spatial design and interior design, which are taught at interior design is taught at Chelsea, and interior spatial design is taught at Camberwell. And so looking at the differences between those different programs, for example, at Central St Martin's, architecture is Royal Institute of British Architects approved, which is a quite particular thing for that particular course. But looking at how scale and space is interpreted in different ways is a really important distinction between those, what on the surface might seem like quite similar kind of programs. So design under that umbrella, we've got courses such as ceramics at Camberwell, design for branded spaces at London College of Communication. So, you know, think, for example, within that program, you would be various kind of contemporary ways of working within retail spaces and using projection mapping, for example. So learning kind of new and, well, I suppose it's not so new now, it's a few years old, but certainly learning what's happening at the cutting edge of design is one of the key kind of components that we kind of pride ourselves in making sure that everything that we deliver is kind of up to date. Design management, huge range of different graphic design courses. And again, we've got, I think across all of the different colleges, there are design-based courses or graphic design courses or graphic design communication, illustration, theatre design, 3D design, product design. So Wimbledon is a real hub for performance, and we'll be coming to that shortly. One of the things that's also worth pointing out, even though we're kind of mentioning these different terms like communication, design, art, a number of these different areas do cross over a lot as well. So, you know, it's important to kind of see how these different areas kind of, you know, interact with each other. And another point on the photographs that we're showing, what makes it truly exciting is that no two people's work is ever the same. There's always variation, there's always difference, there's no house style, as it were. It's the students that make it what it is. And so we could just put every year, we always put up new images to kind of showcase the new kind of ideas that students are putting forth.
Yeah, that's very true. One of especially, so for example, with fashion, fashion is very much finding the next thing, not obviously what if you walk down a high street, what is fashionable now. But in the areas of fashion, we've London College of Fashion obviously has got a plethora of courses, but they look at things like fashion design, fashion jewellery, fashion cutting, photography. They do courses in textiles, men's design, women's design, also in hair and makeup as well. That's kind of a whole area that is taught at London College of Fashion. And then also we've got lots of courses that fall under media. So again, as Luke mentioned, there is a crossover between a lot of courses, and we've got courses that look at graphics and media, illustration and media. We have media communications, photography. We've got a wide number of photography courses across all the different colleges. We have production for screen, and things like music courses and sound courses. As well as, yeah, we've got plenty of different kind of media area courses. And to reiterate, as I was saying earlier, to work in media, to study media in the heart of one of the world's global media centres is fantastic.
Yeah, and then of course we have performing arts. Wimbledon College of Art is actually a centre of excellence for performance and is kind of internationally known as such. So underneath that umbrella, we've got various kind of performance and theatre programs, costume design, contemporary theatre and performance. And there's some really interesting things that they're doing as well. Again, if you drill down into the specifics of what happens on the programme, you're looking at the different kind of skill sets that you're learning, how to boost your confidence, to project your voice, to perform. And as well as the kind of the acting and performance aspects, there's also the technical aspects and the behind the scenes aspects that are covered as well. There's actually a new program about specifically about if you wanted to become a technician in the performance industry, in the performing arts industry, and that's really quite exciting. So that's really looking at how students that have a particular interest to kind of maybe be lighting engineers, or the behind the scenes operatives. It's specifically aimed towards those students. So yeah, some exciting new courses that definitely worth checking out on the website.
And also we've got lots of courses that fall under screen. So Luke mentioned earlier about having different sub areas within the London College of Communication, and one of them is the Screen School. So we've got a number of courses that look at film, so what film practice, for example, or film and television, that has a whole section just teaching students how to film for TV. We have courses such as games design, animation, and also virtual reality. So with that, it's ever changing. Obviously VR is ever changing, and we're making sure that we're staying at the kind of the forefront of the education. So all of our tutors are people that have worked in the industry and often still do work in the industry and teach on courses. So they are the best people to kind of educate students about what's new out there. So now that was just an overview of the courses, and now we're going to kind of explain with the application and what it is that our team actually offer to support students when applying to university.
So Gavin and I work on the UAL Insights programme. Like Gavin said earlier, he focuses on London College of Communication, whereas I focus on the programme that operates at Camberwell, Chelsea, Wimbledon. We won't be talking too much about this particular programme now, because we want to flag another event up in a minute, which will give you more information about that. But our programme, a number of you may well have taken part in either our spring school or our summer school, which was an interesting challenge this year because we did it all online. So we were learning a lot ourselves about working and interacting online and finding innovative ways to kind of make sure that you are aware of the different kind of programs that we offer, and also supporting you in the kind of work that you're developing for your portfolios. So we have coming up soon the autumn winter schools. I don't know if we can just move on to the next slide.
Yes.
So the autumn winter program. So what's happened so far is on the spring school you would normally try a number of different subject areas. In summer school you tend to focus in one particular area. It's slightly different perhaps on some of the different programs. But in autumn winter, we're then, it's a further opportunity over perhaps a slightly longer period of time where we can work with you and a number of, you get access to a number of our specialist tutors as well as us. We'll support you with building up your technical skills, helping you to create a body of work that's kind of distinctive. We also give you lots of advice on portfolio presentation. So we're thinking of ways that we can talk to you online about how we can develop your work, the fantastic work that you're doing for your main qualification, and also the work that we're offering to kind of help and enhance your portfolios that you can do with us as well. So we'll be offering a number of different aspects around that area. We'll help you to talk about your work more confidently. We don't want to contradict anything that your teachers are saying, but we like to kind of tell you the kind of things that maybe UAL will be looking for specifically, and just giving you lots of kind of tips for interview preparation to kind of enhance the fantastic advice that I'm sure you're already getting. We'll talk to you if there's a specific course that you have an interest in. We can talk about the specifics of that course, what you need in terms of entry requirements. We also give talks about student finance and the specific aspects of that. We get an expert in to talk to you about that. And then, of course, we also kind of support you with UCAS stuff as well. Now, that really takes place a lot within your college, and you have a great team there that will help you with that. And what we don't want to do is muddy the waters at all, but we can also offer advice in that. We've got experience in helping students as well with making those decisions and giving them the right kind of advice to make you feel more kind of confident and prepared.
Starting the autumn winter is a project that's running next week, which is called Insights Live. And Insights Live is a week of online talks and discussions covering all of the subjects that we, well, most of the subjects that we cover at University Arts London. It runs daily. The sessions are all online, and they start at 4:30 every day, starting on Monday, the 28th of September. Excuse me. On Monday, we have a welcome event, which kind of introduces you to autumn winter and welcoming any new students who's not worked with us before. And then we're going to look at fine art and photography courses. You can see in the boxes there, it's just outlining the subjects that we'll cover. On the Tuesday, we'll be looking at, excuse me, looking at design courses. So things like architecture, graphic design, illustration, and performance and theatre. On Wednesday, we'll be looking at media and screen courses. So that's things like film or TV, animation, game design, all of the ones listed there. And on Thursday, the 1st of October, we are looking at fashion-based courses. So all of the courses that London College of Fashion run, and also the ones at Central St Martin's, will be covered there. And then next Friday, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of students that we work with are still a bit unsure about the course that they want to study. I know when I went to university, even up to the point of my first day, I was still slightly unsure. So we've got kind of a session for students who are still making up their mind. We'll have students who've been in that same situation and tried out separate courses, and they'll be able to talk about their experiences. But also there will be a session for foundation in art and design. It's worth that I should mention that all of these sessions are going to be hosted by members of the UAL team, but actually the people talking will be current students, graduates, and course tutors. And we've asked them all to kind of have work ready to show you, because obviously people can speak, but really you need to see the work that's being produced, the work that people have made, and the kind of things that the tutors are getting their students to work on. So throughout all of this, there's going to be plenty of time for you to get some questions and speaking to the current students, hearing it from the horse's mouth. So if you're interested in this, all you have to do is just email outreach@arts.ac.uk, and I will, myself or my team will send you the link to apply. It's an Eventbrite, and basically will send you the link to the online session early on each day. So at 10 AM you'll get a link to the session that takes place at 4:30 that day. It's a great opportunity for you to just learn more. It's important that some of you might think you're dead set on a particular course, but one of the great things about Insights and the great thing about our team is that you get to hear from other courses that you might not have been aware of. So say, for example, you're interested in fine art, but then you, as Luke mentioned, you may learn about fine art photography or sound art, or if you're interested in film, but actually then you hear from somebody who learn how to record for television, and that might kind of open your eyes up to a whole new area that you were previously unaware of. And that's really important, because you know, when you go to university, no one really knows exactly how it's all gonna, the kind of things that you're going to be taught. So it's important that you kind of get as much information about all the courses as possible.
Okay, I'm aware we have been talking for 40 minutes, so we'll wrap through some of these last few slides, because we do want to have some time for questions as well. But obviously one of the really important phases that you're at the moment is you're writing your personal statements. And we have a specific what we look for section on our course pages at UAL, which would definitely be worth having a look at. Personal statement is a really important thing, because it can be the difference between getting you onto a course or not. It can actually push you over the line. The key is kind of in the word there, personal, which means no one else can write your personal statement but you. So it's really important that you really think about this. You think about what your interests are, those extracurricular things that are kind of, that you like to do that can feed into that. And it's quite often those things that you do outside of maybe your main qualification as well, that you can actually start turning into the thing that becomes your practice as well, your kind of individual practice. So it's really important to talk about your current qualification, your current studies, your specific areas of interest. Usually good to maybe mention I always think it's a good idea to mention an artist or a style that you're interested in, those kind of things as well. But you will get additional information, as I said, on the what we look for section. So personal statements, do make sure you give it that time to be able to kind of unpick that. And I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of support from your tutors for that as well, and your careers team and advice team.
And similarly, a lot of courses when you're applying to any arts degrees, whether or not it's at UAL or externally, you'll have to have a body of work. It's not for all courses, but quite a lot of our courses, you'll need to have a portfolio of work available. And similar, like as Luke said about your personal statement, I understand that you'll be getting information from your tutors, but one of the great things about Insights is we can help support you and support your portfolio for applying to a course directly at UAL. And yeah, it's just making sure your portfolio speaks for you. We need to see some variety, and we want to see your identity in your portfolio. Sometimes you might not be there to speak with your portfolio, so if you can leave your portfolio in a room and let somebody look at it, will they be able to work out what you are like as a student and as a person, and your likes and interests. I'm just going to spin through some of the things that are available once you're a student. We have some preparation courses like the Big Welcome and Get Ready, which support your transition into higher education. There's a number of different unions and sports clubs and societies. So if you ever want to join one of those when you're a student, it's encouraged, because obviously it's good to meet other like-minded people. We have what is called academic support, and Insight students get a personal introduction to the academic support team, and they're basically there to support you on all levels of your study at university. They should really be used from day one, because they are an amazing resource. Having studied some kind of postgraduate stuff at university at UAL myself, I know that they were fantastic when I was studying there. We also do arts temps work, which is a student employment system. So there's opportunity for you to get paid and work alongside us in the outreach team. And also we have degree shows for you to kind of explore. Every graduating student will show their work, so you then get to go and have a look at the work that is 1 or 2 years ahead of you.
And yeah, we like to, again, just sort of showcase some of the fantastic things that have happened to people that have graduated from the University of the Arts London over the years. This is by no means, you know, I don't always think it's good just to wave our flag about the famous people, but it's good to know that some of these people have come from through our doors. Fantastic that UAL's produced over half of all Turner Prize winners. I think that's quite impressive. And probably one of the areas on there that I think's really fantastic is that 95% of graduates that are in work or education within 6 months of progressing from the university. So I think that's a really exciting thing. 1 in 5 of our students has their own or manages a business. So I won't go through each of those individual things. You can kind of see them on there, but yeah, just a bit more blowing our own trumpet and saying how good we are.
And finally, there's some examples of things that are coming up for you to take part in. We're going to make sure that this you'll be able to watch this presentation again, because I know it's going up onto YouTube, so obviously you can kind of have a look at those. But just Google the University of the Arts London and events, and all the online events will be there for you to kind of take part in. So now we kind of welcome any questions that you may have for Luke and myself, and for Joe. So please do let us know of any questions.
Thank you so much, Gavin, Luke. Fantastic. A huge amount of information there about all the different courses. So yeah, as I said right at the beginning, there is an opportunity to type some questions in the Q&A, which is say it's got a little question mark. It should be in the top right hand of your screen. But I've just got a question to start off, which I hope one of you can answer. So we might have some in the audience, both students and parents, who are just perhaps a little bit wary or a bit cautious about sort of going down the creative route. even though really impressive stats on the 95% in work. Is there any kind of, what could you say to those students about, if they really want to pursue something creative but are worried, what would your advice to them be?
Do you want to go, or shall I?
Well, I'd like to say that we, as I mentioned earlier, all of our tutors are people that currently work or have recently been working in the creative industries, and we really train our students up to become practitioners, so that when you leave, that you can hit the ground running within the area that you've been studying in, that you're passionate about, and we really want you to be able to just get straight out and produce work. And whatever the industry is, I mean, nobody really knows what it is that all the students are specialists in, but we support you, and we, there are lots of courses that have people from industries coming in to set briefs, and we've got very good industry relations because it's such a big institution that we have.
Do you have do students have the opportunity to sort of go to kind of like employability workshops where they kind of develop those skills to be perhaps a freelance person at the end of their course?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a dedicated team, careers and employability team, who they will get to know throughout their time. All that information is available to them. And there's huge hosts almost weekly. I think there are events and things that take place to help students to engage with what's going to happen next. We have a very strong alumni program as well, where students come back and do talks paid. So we have all sorts of fantastic advice to kind of give them and to support them, and quite a lot of our current tutors were also ex-students as well as practitioners as well. So it's also worth mentioning that it's the second biggest industry in the United Kingdom is the creative industries, and sometimes that gets overlooked. Finance being the biggest industry, and I don't know how much longer that will be the case, but certainly 111 billion, I believe, in 2018. That's how much the creative industries contributed to the UK economy. So there is a bit of a mythology around art and design. I think one of the fantastic things about art and design as a career as well is the amount of transferable skills that you pick up. So some of the quite a lot of actors maybe studied painting at Chelsea at some time, or you can kind of see that it's those skills of being confident, of understanding, interpreting, synthesizing ideas. These sorts of things are actually quite adaptable skill sets to, even if the students don't become a practicing artist, perhaps they do have a huge range of skills which they can apply to a number of alternative careers if for example that wasn't what they got into afterwards. But I will say that a huge amount of them do pursue careers within the arts, very successfully.
And do most of the students that do the art foundation course with you, would they progress onto the degree courses at UAL? Is that a sort of natural progression?
Yeah, huge number of them will progress, and there is that guaranteed offer of a place at University of the Arts London following a foundation course with us. Some of them do progress and go to other universities as well. It all depends on their their kind of personal kind of circumstances as well. Sometimes moving away from home outside of London if they're based in London. We like to kind of give the advice and the options, but we'd never kind of, I'd like to think we'd never sort of say you must come to UAL. It's just important for the students to kind of know what the options are so they can make that informed decision rather than start something that's maybe not quite right, which I think is where our programs like our autumn winter program is fantastic, because it does give that flavour of what it's like to work with our tutors and the kind of processes that we do at university, and where that differs from things from college, for example, that transition from college to university. They can get a sense of that, I think.
Okay, so we're getting some questions coming through on the Q&A. So we've got do your foundation courses require a portfolio? That's a yes.
Yes.
What to add on that?
Yeah, they do require a portfolio. There are also I believe on the actual foundation pages, the Central St Martin's and Camberwell, Chelsea, Wimbledon foundations, there is actually a kind of a bullet pointed what we look for section. I won't go into all that now because you probably information overload, but it does talk about some of the specific kind of qualities that they look at and the kind of things. I mean, Gavin talked a bit about the portfolio and about, you know, what kind of things we expect. But yeah, portfolio is one of the requirements. But we are aware that the portfolio isn't a finished thing. We're not expecting, you know, incredible works of art. That's what happens later, of course. But we're expecting to be able to see those kind of, you know, that enthusiasm, those signs that that person is dedicated and interested and has that kind of drive and ambition to kind of push themselves forward as a practitioner, really. Yeah.
Okay, great. I don't know, I'm going to keep you live Luke, a moment, but another question. So we've got someone who's asked, is a foundation year compulsory to study an undergraduate degree? So someone who's considering doing fine art, history of art at another university, but not sure if a foundation is needed or is helpful. I think, yeah, the point is that, yeah, the foundation is a brilliant year in itself. I guess, is that, yeah, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, shall I go again? Or I think it's not a necessary thing. You don't 100% need to have a foundation to progress to an undergraduate program. Although I personally, I like to think, what's the rush? You know, if you've got this option to do another year of free education and do a foundation, if you're under 19, then it is a fantastic thing to do. And one of my biggest regrets is that I actually didn't do a foundation myself. I taught on it and was very jealous of the students I was teaching. Not necessarily the ones I was teaching my own program, but certainly my colleagues. So yeah, I do think it is a really good opportunity to boost your confidence and just get yourself prepared, but certainly is not something that you necessarily have to have. It's very much about the individual. And if you're good to go and you feel ready, you feel prepared, and you want to go directly into that undergraduate program, and you've got all the, you know, you've done your research, you've looked at the program, you've swatted up, you've maybe had if you can, had a conversation with some of the students that have graduated or are on that program. I think it's always a good thing to do. They're going to tell you straight, I believe, rather than maybe some of the teachers who are like, come to us. Then I think it's absolutely viable to you know, progress without having a foundation as well.
I think it's also worth saying that tutors, when you apply to a course, will understand whether or not you as a applicant would require a foundation. So there's nothing to say you can't apply via UCAS to those courses and also apply for a foundation separately, because if the person who is looking at your portfolio and does your interview thinks that you're ready, they'll accept you straight away. Or if they think that you would benefit from another year with a foundation, often what some universities do is give you a conditional offer, but for the following year, and the condition is that you complete a foundation in the year in between. So don't be put off by the idea that you're unsure as if you will need one, because a lot of the time the admissions tutors and the course tutors that you speak to will know based on your portfolio and your experience and talking to them.
Okay, actually, Gavin, while you're still there, so someone's asked about if the UAL Insights live classes, whether they have to go to all of them or just the areas that they're interested in.
So the Monday, the first session, the welcome event, I think is important for everyone. But then by all means, pick the days that relate to your subjects. You'll see that there is a crossover. So photography is on a few days, and design and graphic design is on across a few days. So make sure to kind of just go to the ones that relate to you, but you don't by any means have to go to the full week. But yeah, so pick and choose which ones are related to you. But we think that the welcome event is kind of helpful for everyone.
Okay, great. And time for a couple more questions. I'll keep going. When would you have to have your portfolio ready by?
That kind of depends on the course. A lot of the time, so for example, we're at the college I work at London College of Communication, we have some online, so you submit your portfolio online, a digital portfolio, and from as soon as you've applied, if you've got your portfolio ready, you can submit that as well. But normally you need to have your portfolio ready for after the UCAS deadline. So interviews would traditionally take place in February, March, and obviously you need to have your finalised portfolio there. And part of the autumn winter programme is that we work with you and give you one-to-one tutorials and kind of make sure you've got the work ready. All of our autumn winter is going to take place online, so you're going to make sure that you've got plenty of time to talk to tutors and staff and make sure you're ready. But a lot of the date of when you'll need it depends often on when your interview is. If you're provided with an interview date, obviously you'd need it ready for that.
And are there any other entry requirements in terms of the Art Foundation, in terms of A-level grades or anything like that? Someone's asked.
Yeah, so in terms of what you need, it is predominantly the portfolio. And if, for example, if it was if you're doing A levels, it's 2 A levels, A to C, I believe is the grade. So if you've got 2 A to C's in 2 A levels, then that's also accepted, and the equivalent of that on a level 3 diploma programme. But yeah, definitely worth just double checking, because yeah, this year, yeah, just in case there's any kind of additional updates, but that is tradition. That's what's on the website currently. So do always check the pages though, because there's always additional information just to support that application. And yeah, I always think it is a great idea to, like we've mentioned a few times, to have that double application, so you apply for a foundation and an undergraduate. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so we've got a question here about kind of when the student is actually at UAL. So they're talking about more the sort of education and well-being when they're there, and how the university would deal with any issues around equality, discrimination, that kind of thing.
Okay, well,
question. Do you want to take it, Gavin, or shall I?
Yes, we can both.
I'll make you live first, Gavin.
I'll start. Oh, okay.
Okay. So everything at UAL, we take any form of discrimination very seriously. We have a number of different bodies that, as a student, you can be a member of. So I mentioned there's different kind of networks as well. I'm a part of the LGBT staff network, and we do regular events with the student union. And also, as a student at the University of Arts London, you've got access to kind of mental health and wellbeing services as well. We understand that everyone and students especially are under a lot of pressure. So we do a mentoring scheme where, as a first year, you can be mentored by a third year or a second year student, and they can help with a lot of the issues that might be affecting your mental health in terms of just questions to do with courses and stuff like that. We have there is different kinds of people you can speak to in the student services, so you can get counselling. We have different kind of religious groups as well, and we've got prayer rooms that students can kind of use, and we also have a chaplain who kind of is a multi-faith person that you can speak to regarding all issues to do with mental health as well as to do with faith questions. But they do take it very seriously. Any form of discrimination is taken very seriously within UAL. And Insight students, once you graduate, once you become a UAL student, because we've worked with you during the next year or so, we have a very close relationship with all of our students on the course. So any issues that you maybe feel you don't know how to address or you don't know who to speak to, one of the great things is you can come and speak to whoever works at the college that you study at. So you'll get to know them over the next year, and we can help deal with the problem with you. And obviously we don't want to speak on behalf of you, but we will help support you with any issues that you might be facing.
Great, thanks, Gavin. So I've just got another question here. So if a student here is doing art A level, but it's not actually done photography, so he or she is asking if they did a foundation course with photography, they could then presumably change their career path for university and apply for a photography degree. So that's the real advantage of doing a foundation course, isn't it? That you get to try out these different areas. Is that Luke's area? Shall I make you live again?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's an art-related subject. So photography, photography is art. Art is photography. So it all crosses over. So Yeah, and if there is a specific area you feel you want to kind of unpick a little bit more or get a bit more of an understanding of, then yeah, foundation is a great way to kind of, you know, try those different areas. At the Camberwell Foundation, for example, we have a time-based media pathway where you're thinking of the idea of duration as an art form. So that can be photography, it can be film, it can be animation. And so you build up some ideas and skill sets around those particular areas. But what you start to realize is that the subject isn't the thing that defines you or the work that you do. It's you that defines the work that you do. And I think that's a really exciting thing that starts to take place at university, and is why, you know, in our degree shows, the work we have is so different. You go from student to student and you see very different personal approaches to work. And yeah, that's what makes it really, really exciting. So yeah, it's not a problem to have either one or the other, or to use foundation as a way to kind of really think about which subject area. What I will say is that when you do pick a subject, you'll be exposed to specialists within that area, but it doesn't mean that you can't, you know, bring in from everywhere. We've got a drawing BA program at Camberwell. That doesn't mean you just draw. That means you work with sculpture, you work with video, you work with performance, but drawing is maybe the thing that kind of is the loose area that kind of brings those things together. So it becomes a really exciting way to be very multidisciplinary at university.
Great, thank you. And then I think this is probably more or less a final question. Is everybody accepted on the autumn and winter programme, or is there a selection process?
Okay, do you want to take this, Luke?
Yeah, I can take this. If you meet our criteria, then you will you'll get a place. It's that simple. So we have some specific criteria, which we can go into detail on the Insights Live event as well, just so that you're aware of that. We also have it on our website as well. But sometimes some of the particular courses can fill up. There have been situations where there's a limited number. But where possible, we can also maybe if you applied for example, Central St Martin's, a particular architectural part of Insights, we could put you onto the interior spatial design, which has got similar kind of subject area. So anyone that has the criteria will get a place on the autumn winter programme.
It's also worth saying that you should, obviously we can go through the criteria during the Insights Live, but you should just apply regardless of whether or not you're unsure if you're eligible. If you've studied on our spring or summer, you'll be getting an email with a link to apply, but if not, you have to fill in the application form, which is hosted online. But definitely just apply if you're unsure about if you fit the criteria.
Brilliant. So thanks ever so much, Gavin and Luke. So I hope that's been really useful for everyone that's been watching. I have put in the published comments here the details of our YouTube channel, which I've been sending out to students as well. So you'll be able to watch the entire thing if you missed the beginning or you had to leave early. So you will be able to watch it on the YouTube channel. I think Gavin has also posted in his contact details for information about the Winter Insights programme. I've also posted a link to our Get Ahead News, which is a news bulletin that the Careers Department produces. I like to do it weekly, but it's definitely fortnightly. And in that, there's information about the Winter Insights programme and lots of other opportunities as well. So some of you may well be in a VAD tutor group, which again will give you a huge amount of help in terms of getting your portfolio together. But if you're at all in doubt and you want to talk it through, then the careers team are here and waiting, so you can just book an appointment. It is virtual, but we're definitely here and ready to help. What I would say is my final point, that if you are planning to apply through UCAS, do make sure that you meet the UCAS deadline. So for the college, it's the last date is 20th of November. We do. I know that seems a long time before the 15th of January, but you've got to take into account the Christmas break and also the fact that we send off about 600 applications. So we need that amount of time to get through them. And we really don't want you to have a late application. So I do hope that's been really useful, and if you're at all interested in the apprenticeship route, there is also another event on the 30th of September. Just get in touch with Careers and we can give you the details about how to attend that event as well. So yeah, do get in touch if you need any more help. If you would like a private reply, do leave your email address in the Q&A and we can get back to you with any queries that we haven't answered. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.